Okay, welcome back. I have to do a double take in a part 2 with these brothers because, you know, for Husbandhood Podcast, with the understanding that it is a podcast created for husbands by husbands to help husbands win in marriage. Yeah. It's going to be very difficult to win in marriage when you're not healed.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, we've talked on other podcasts about the little boy in you that shows up in your marriage, or the unhealed spaces inside of you that show up in marriage. And I just felt led by the Lord to really dive back into this with you two specifically because healing is important.
Yeah.
And an unhealed husband can lead to a damaging marital relationship.
Sure.
So, you know, not sure how we pop this off, but I just want to dive right in. Like, when we hear this topic of healing, where are we at with that? And you might want to scoot your mic up a little bit, but yeah, what do we hear when what shows up when we talk through this process of healing for husbands per se, and how that impact the marital relationship?
Sure. You want me to just take a stab at it first?
Stab it.
Sure. So healing is crucial. I think, me personally, I've been to counseling because one of the things that I hear, especially recently, when folks find themselves in trouble, they always say, I'm doing the work to get my mental health right. Mm. And I always follow up with the question, well, what work is that?
Wow.
You see, the dupe is to think that you can heal yourself with what really are not tools, but just coping mechanisms. How I make it through this situation, not how I get healed through this situation. And so if you don't have someone to help you get the tools to do the repair that is necessary, all you're doing is exacerbating the problem and coping, thinking you're doing the work, but you ain't doing nothing.
Whoa, hold on. Rewind that. So there's this whole phenomenon around what I'm doing to get through the situation and what I'm doing to heal from the situation. Sure. And we're doing at least the most familiar practice is finding coping mechanisms to get through it. Wow.
And I think nobody ever gives a direction on how to heal. I was in somebody's wedding the other day and they asked me to give a speech, I guess like a thank you, whatever. And one thing I said is there are 4 stages to a man. One is the son. That's the child.
Sure.
Then you become a man. Then you become a husband. And then you become a father.
Right.
A lot of times, the father never became a husband. So when you allow the man who never became a husband to father,
right,
there's always an issue. And when you allow the child who never become a man to husband, when the stage is missing, it's an issue. And there's a lot of men who that child never got an opportunity to be a man. And now you're forced into a husband role, and we have you've aged in time, but you're still a child because you never became a man.
Right.
And one of the biggest issues on how to heal, one of the things God has been really pressing on me is not just to tell people to heal, but give a step. And one thing the Holy Spirit showed me, if I can share it.
Yeah.
The biggest issue right now, it's not that men don't want to heal. It's men have a misdiagnosis of their trauma.
Sure.
If you go to a hospital and you're trying to get healing from a physical issue, if the doctor misdiagnose your problem, they may give you a medication that they assume could solve it. And the reason why they do that is based on the question they asked you. You gave a false answer or did not give enough answer.
There you go.
So if the doctor comes to me and the doctor says, what does this feel when you do it? And depending on if it's a male or a female doctor, if it's a female doctor, I'm trying to be strong, I might be like, I don't feel nothing. So she might prescribe me a lesser medication because I was not fully transparent with my hurt. And I think a lot of men have gotten a lesser medication for their healing because they lack the transparency in the diagnosis process. So now how do we get healed? The number one thing is realizing, where does it hurt?
It's the first question.
And many people miss out on that. So for that man listening out there, where does it hurt? What do I mean when I say where does it hurt? We must uncover what you're feeling. Whenever I am broken, whenever I'm hurting, whenever there's something that's wrong with me, I have to ask myself, there is a sign that there's a deficiency in something. The biggest problem that we have seen in our country is whenever people get sick, we give them medication, but your body is not sick because of a deficiency in medicine. So if there was a problem with me, my mental health and my physical health, what am I lacking that's causing this?
That's right.
Because if I don't feel and discover that thing, what's that thing? What am I missing out? Is it love? Because if I'm missing out in love, it can cause me to show hate. If I'm missing out in peace, maybe I never had a peaceful upbringing. What is the place or where's the area that you are lacking? And that needs a thorough self-discovery.
Yes, it does.
A full transparency. And maybe you may not be able to dialogue that with yourself. But like you said, finding those people that you can actually be able to answer the tough question. For me, I'll be transparent. For me, growing up with a father who was grieving his wife while trying to love his son, nothing I did initially was proud for him. Because he was so focused on being a good dad that he was like, focus on your work, focus on your work, focus on your work, do what you got to do. And that was okay, but I just wanted dad to be proud of me.
Sure.
So that actually transpired in my marriage. It showed in a way of, me and my wife were talking one day, and I was so pressed on, baby, just get the work done. She's trying to write a book, and I'm like, just do it. I've written 10 books. You can do it. And she was like, babe, like, why are you not taking time to actually hear what I'm saying? And it hit me. I gave you what I got. And I never learned how to really love you the way that's right. So I wanted to just push you and push you and push you because that's all I use. And that was my coping mechanism. And I had to look deep into myself to realize, oh, no, you're hurting. It was the hurting you that's trying to love your wife.
That's right.
And I had to recognize where I was lacking in.
That's right.
And be able to see deep within myself to now say, baby, oh, you don't need me to push you. You don't need a coach. You need a cheerleader right now.
That's right.
And because I was raised by a coach and never give myself time to heal.
You own it.
Now, it's hard for me to be a cheerleader. I can't really be that, So really, it's going back to that diagnosis. What is that deficiency in your life? How can you feel that deficiency so you can fully maximize and be the man, son, husband that you have to be?
Yeah, I know you want to jump in. Let me just kind of piggyback a little bit. You can never declare what you do not have.
Wow.
Jesus could be in the middle of a storm and declare peace because he is
the peace. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so when you see these things in real time, in your marriage, in you, in her, you know what you want.
Yeah.
But you can't get there because you don't know how to. And the vulnerability part is declaring what's missing.
Yeah.
That's why I love that my Savior died on a cross, because if he was vulnerable, that means I can be vulnerable.
Wow.
My identity is not in how you look at me. My identity is to be conformed to the image of Christ.
Yeah.
Which means when I lack something, I can declare it unashamed, unafraid, because he said, if you ask me, Why is it so hard for us to ask? Not just for directions, everything.
Tell me where it hurts.
Where does it hurt?
You may not know anything else,
Man.
but you can point.
Yeah. It hurts right here.
It hurts right here.
Yeah, right here.
Right?
That's a declaration.
That's a declaration.
For sure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And can we, now you said something as well. I'm thinking about, I hear the side of the coach that transpired in your marriage, but what about the part of Josh that still wants to be celebrated?
Wow.
Does that still show up? I'm curious.
Oh God.
Like if your wife, if you do something that you thinking in your mind, she gonna love this. Like it's gonna be great, right? And
I can get on this one.
and her response is something that is not what you expected.
It did not line up at all.
Oh my God.
And you expected celebration.
That did not go how I thought it was going to go.
And it didn't go how you expected to go.
Mad.
So I'm curious.
Yeah.
What is that like?
You know, it's funny because we just had this situation. As you know, I love writing books.
Come on.
My 9th and 10th book that I wrote, I remember calling my wife and I said, baby, man, you ought to read this. I think it's bomb.
I think it's bomb.
And she was like, nah, I don't have time on da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And it was not a trigger for me until she started. Now, she's in the process of writing hers. And I remember she told me, she said, baby, can you go over this for me? And I'll be honest. I was like, yeah, I would like to.
Sure.
But do you remember?
And there it is.
The time.
Hold on, let me pull it out.
You keeping receipts.
And in that moment, as I was just getting ready to say that, God said, love keeps no record of wrong.
Come on.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
And this is the problem. When the Bible says, love your neighbor as yourself, one of the biggest revelations we miss is how I love me is different from how you love you. In other words, for me, right now when I was sitting on that couch, I was looking and I'm like, man, it's like 300 African restaurants in this place right now. I'm getting ready to order from every one of them. You might want barbecue. So imagine me giving you an African food when that's what you want is barbecue. Why am I saying that? If we have to love our neighbor how we love ourselves, that is an indication that the way I love my wife necessarily may not be how I love me, but it's really more so how does she want to be loved? And a lot of times we don't actually dialect that. When we first started dating, I remember giving my wife some roses, and I was so mad at her, and many husbands feel this way, where many of us secretly in our minds and our hearts, we feel like our wives are ungrateful and unappreciative because they did not line up with the expectation we put in our mind based on how we would have reacted to what we gave them.
Sure.
Right? So for me, I remember giving her a rose and she was like, thank you. And I'm like, thank you.
Do you know how much this rose costs?
Do you know what I went? And she was like, baby, I like daisies. I don't like roses.
Come on.
But that first day, I was like, man, she's so unappreciative. I can't stand her. I don't know what kind of woman I done got married to.
She know what I had to do to get
This
this
is terrible. But what God really showed me in that is for me to be able to heal as a man.
Sure.
I had to tell myself, my wife wants to be loved in her own unique way. And we had this conversation. She said, baby, I don't want us, whenever you come home, she told me the other day, she said, baby, sometimes I just want to lay in the bed and watch a movie. And me, I'm not really a lay in the bed watch movie kind of person. I'm sitting on the couch with chicken wings on here and water on the floor, and I'm sitting there watching the movie. And she's like, and I'm like, I don't want to lay in the bed because I know you're gonna go to sleep. You're not gonna finish the movie. You always go to sleep. And in that moment, I had to ask myself, what did she say she wanted?
Yeah.
It's not about you. It's that dying, like the previous podcast talked about. It's about dying to self.
Can you lay down?
Like, you have to be able to lay down. And for me, I had to lay down. My wife wants me right now to look at her book. She looked at the first 8. Why am I mad that she looked at the last 2?
Man.
You know? And right now, my job is to serve her. And if I want to serve her fully, I must keep no record of wrong. And that's one of the things that's so hard to do in marriage and relationships in general, because I want to be able to say, remember when you did, remember when I did, remember when you did, and love at its core keeps no record. Imagine if you went to God and God said, remember when you did.
Sure.
None of us will make it.
It wouldn't even be in his character.
There would be it's not.
One of the things that gets us in trouble
Yeah.
are unrealized expectations. That's essentially what you're saying. When I was a boy, I'm going to use your construct. When I was a boy, I bought my mother a necklace with my hard-earned
$5
given to me lunch money.
But you earned that lunch money.
Sure,
Yeah, I got
sure.
you.
I
It's
sacrificed
yours.
lunch.
When it's an exchange,
Hey,
when it hit my hand, it's mine.
hey, I'm sacrificing square pizza and carton milk. You see what I'm saying?
Good, fresh, ice cold.
Ice cold milk.
I mean, I'm probably 8 years old, third grade, fourth grade. Bought her this necklace. It looked gold to me. I gave it to her. I'm proud. And I expected her. I didn't even expect for her to say thank you, but for me just to see it on her neck.
Wow.
I went a week and I went into her room and I saw that necklace sitting in the box.
You know, about her cubic zirconia.
In the box on the shelf.
From Sam's.
Man, from the corner store. I mean, I was so upset.
Yeah.
And I carried that with me into adulthood.
Wow.
Because for me, if I'm a work, and work is work. Y'all know what work is.
Yeah.
For me to work and get you something and you not appreciate it, like that hurts.
Yeah.
And as a child, going into a marriage, having expectations for my wife to respond in a way that would fulfill me. But think about this. I gave the gift to meet an expectation in her.
It was not realistic.
Right, but I'm looking for something.
Wow.
If I'm looking for something and giving, why am I giving in the first place? I had to check that. Right? And so if it's not given out of pure love, like mama would tell me, when you loan money, don't expect it back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Take expectations off the table.
Yeah.
Because that's how you learn what they like. My wife don't like flowers, period.
Right.
So it's just a waste for me. And so you have to be able to learn, but then when that pricks you in a way that hurts you, you have to be able to vocalize it so you know how to deal with it and get over it.
Yeah.
Something very interesting about hurt
Oh my God.
is that when your feelings are hurt, you tend to remember more
Yeah.
than you actually remember
Yeah.
when you're happy.
Dang.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you're happy and things are just flowing,
Sure.
you're not self-reflecting like that.
Sure.
But it's when you hurt me,
Yeah.
and that's the danger of keeping records,
Yeah.
keeping receipts.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying? God blesses a cheerful giver.
Sure.
We hear that in tithes and offering.
Let me temper this for
Okay, go
1
on.
second. Paul says, when you do well, glory unto yourself, but not before God.
Not before God.
So it's okay for me to celebrate myself
Yeah.
when I give her what I want to give her, even if she don't respond the way that I like.
That's the key thing. Like can you still celebrate yourself
In spite of.
in spite of her?
There it is.
Yeah, in spite of.
There it is.
It's self-awareness. It's what you were talking about. I'm thinking about a time where, I like doing stuff for my wife on her birthday. Her birthday's coming up. And I think about, like, okay, I have all this stuff laid out, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Like, I'm going to do this and do that.
Right.
But then she came out of nowhere last year and said, "Whoo, baby, I can just, all I want for my birthday is a staycation."
Wow.
I'm thinking, like, no, we finna have this. I want to go eat. We finna go. We finna go kick. This is about what I want to do for you.
What I want.
You know what I mean? This is about me and what I want to do for you, man.
Sure.
How you gonna tell me? Right?
Don't deny my love.
Right.
But here's the thing, man. I let it go. I was like, look, it did rub me like a little bit. I was like, dang, I had these thoughts and these plans. I'm very communal.
Yeah.
Like, this feels safe for me.
Yeah.
Like being around the brothers, being around family. I grew up in a family. Every Friday night we playing dominoes to the sun up.
Wow.
And tell you kind of like
For sure.
how much you have to put up to play. But I'm just saying, like we have to. But I'm communal by nature. Yeah. That's just me. Yeah. When I get alone, I'm like, that's the worst. I get bored. I'm just an outgoing. My wife is the complete opposite. Yeah. Like, she would be a person that would appreciate just us. Like, she feels safe. Too many people around. Yeah. She's like, I'll do it for a little bit, but then, all right, let me go and go back in this corner and just chill.
It's time to go.
It's time to go, baby.
Yeah.
Come on now. Now, the reason I bring this up is we did the staycation, got the hotel. Nobody knew where we were at for the weekend. We ordered.
Nobody knew where. I'm hearing it. Go ahead.
We were just like, we were just in the room. We ordered room service.
Sure.
My son was. I ain't gonna talk about him, but we were together.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So with that being said, she got what she wanted.
Yeah.
It was amazing, but I didn't realize how much I needed that.
Wow.
I didn't realize how much I needed a staycation.
Yeah.
Wow.
And sometimes by listening, there's a blessing in just giving in a way that's honorable to the person, that's safe for the person, that ultimately blesses you and blesses the whole entire union as a whole.
Something you said that you didn't realize what you needed when you were in the same environment with your wife.
Right.
I don't even want to move this to another segment, but it's so powerful. I was talking to my church the other day, and I talked about the principle of environment. Mm-hmm. A lot of times we don't know what we need. Mm-mm. When I say environment, one of the things that's so beautiful about Genesis is God spoke. He created the environment, then spoke to the environment to produce after its kind. Mm. He spoke to the water, bring forth animals after your kind. And I noticed the trend there, but then when it came to man, he spoke to himself. Let us make man. Why is that important? Mm. If a fish leaves that environment that produced it after its kind and goes into land, it don't survive.
Come on, man.
So there are many people who literally are malfunctioning, not because of God being a bad God. They're simply misplaced. A lot of hurting men are misplaced men. Yeah. Maybe you grew up in an environment without a mom, and you were originally created to thrive in a father and a mother household. Maybe you grew up in an environment without a dad, and you were originally created to thrive in this environment. Maybe you grew up in an environment without food, without resources. And many times we don't really understand that when you are misplaced, if I take my phone and I put it inside water, it begins to malfunction. Hurting men are misplaced men, and ultimately they begin to malfunction. They malfunction in their homes, in their marriage, in different places. And a lot of times when you malfunction so much, you don't recognize what you need. Mm. And it's so important for us to not necessarily take a look at the environment from which we found ourselves in, but to really dig deep to where was I created to thrive best in. Now, how do you do that? Anytime a product is manufactured, the manufacturer puts that product and puts a somewhat of a manual in there. And that manual would say something like, store in a cool or dry place.
Sure.
We have a manual.
Matters.
We have a manual. Wow. And we have to look as men, God, where's the best environment? I love what Philippians says. It says, think on these things. So if I'm dealing with some mental malfunction where I'm not healed, I'm not whole, maybe I should think on things that are good, on things that are wholly acceptable, on things that are righteous, on things of good report. Maybe that's the environment that I can thrive on for my mental. My mental needs to be in this thinking environment. When I think about marriage, what's the best environment for me and my wife to thrive in? In other words, what's the best environment for me and my wife's love to thrive in? It thrives in the environment of patience. It thrives in the environment of kindness.
Yeah.
It thrives in the environment where we don't envy or boast. So a lot of times, whenever we find ourselves misplaced and in need of healing, we must go back to searching and saying, where is the best environment for me to be able to thrive in? Because that environment has the resources for me to truly get healed.
Let me show you the flip side of that. The flip side of that in Genesis 1, he says, there's no one suitable for Adam. So I need to make someone suitable for him, a helpmeet, or some call it helpmate. I'm going to be bold and call it a checkmate. Wow. Because the opposite side of that is marriage is also about friction.
Yeah.
Because that's how you grow through stress.
Yeah.
And so your wife, for some odd reason, I don't know, maybe if it's just mine, but my wife, I could see and feel like I have done a phenomenal thing. And she will check me immediately because it's something that she sees that I'm not seeing, that I have to adjust my sight. Like God told Abraham, listen to your wife, Abraham, because what she's doing is right. And so sometimes we want to be comfortable, but we have to be comfortable being uncomfortable with the stress that the wife can bring to the situation. Right. And that's what it's all about.
My God. My God. And it's like the conviction that I get from hearing just that is just iron sharpens iron.
For sure.
The issue is that you don't see her as iron.
Ooh. You really don't.
Wow.
You don't see her as iron.
Wow.
That friction is necessary for iron to sharpen us. Iron. And you got to be able to see her as iron.
For sure.
And for her to see you as iron.
For sure.
Because that once it sharpens,
that's it.
You can get through a lot of stuff.
Let me just jump in. Think about Job.
Yeah, go for it.
The devil approaches God, and God says, "Have you tried my servant Job?" The devil says, "You put a hedge of protection around him." God says, "I'm going to remove it, leave everything. You can touch everything but his life." Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
The devil takes his property, takes his children, takes really his mental health from him. You know what he didn't take?
His life.
His wife.
Oh, his wife.
He used her.
Oh, my God.
The two shall become one. When I told you you could take everything but his life, she's included in his life.
Whoa,
Now let's just stretch it out a little bit.
You can't just skip that.
Let's just stretch it out a little bit.
Oh.
When Job is at his worst, look what his wife, whose life was saved because she is in him, right? Look what she tells him. Negro, curse God and die. He's at his lowest moment. How did he respond to her? Wow. I'm just saying, sometimes we got to step back, look at the situation, understand that what we are in is meant to help us progress. God is for our good. That's good. Which means he'll use anything and everything, including your spouse, but she's under your protection and she's your life, just like you're hers.
Yeah. Guys, listen. This was tough, man. This is tough to let go. I will say this though. Look, because we of the sake of time, let's give this minute of encouragement to this husband who's ever listening. Like, put him on game. Like, off the strength of this conversation, what would be your final words to him?
Prayer is important.
Oh, man.
And so is therapy. Both is important. You can heal. The fact that you're even watching this podcast shows that you do want to be healed. Take time to discover you and be able to answer the question, where do I hurt? And don't be afraid if the diagnostician God gives you is your wife. Don't be afraid to tell her where it hurts. Don't be afraid to open up to her. God assigned her to you and assigned you to her. Make that marriage work, man. God bless your husband.
I'm going to just piggyback off that. That is phenomenal. Sometimes your wife is going to help you articulate what you cannot say. And sometimes all you got to do is point to where it hurts, and she will ask you a million questions until the answer comes out. So don't fight against her. Work with her because it's for y'all's good.
Yeah, I have a couple of things. One, it's okay not to be good at everything.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
You're not going to be good at everything.
Yeah.
Take those opportunities. Humble yourself before the Lord and your wife. When those opportunities present themselves for you to humble yourself. By choosing to humble yourself, it creates the opportunity for not only you to grow, but your marriage to grow. And it gives you insight to who you married to.
That's right.
Wow.
That then allows you to be that much more effective. Yeah. I played the quarterback position in college. There are quarterbacks who can run well. There's a lot of quarterbacks who can throw well. But what made you good is how accurate you were when you threw the ball.
That's good.
These situations allow you to work on your accuracy.
That's good. That's good.
In marriage. Like so, again, playing quarterback, starting early, the game used to go fast because I didn't have enough experience at it. Moments like this gives you experience, and the game eventually slows down to a place where now you can start hitting targets and doing things that you never could do before just because you stayed in the game. Wow. This has been another episode of Husbandhood Podcast, a podcast created by husbands for husbands to win at marriage.
To win at marriage.
Drop the mic.
Husbandhood, yeah. We talk it out, that's on everything.